Hey guys, welcome back to the other video in this series, this CSEC Building Drawing Refresher series. Um, I'm going to be going through all of the drawings and how you could approach them for the sake of your exams. Now, this is going to be a very simple drawing, as I mentioned in the first video. It doesn't matter if it's 3 rooms or 1 room or 50 rooms, the principles remain the same in terms of how we go about doing these drawings. All right, so for this next one, we're going to be doing a foundation plan. Now, if you remember, we had our sketch here. If CSEC gives you a sketch like this and then asks you to create a foundation plan from it, all you have to do, well, the railway, there's the way that I would do it, and then there's the way that you could approach it for CSEC. All right, the way that I usually do flow foundation plans, I would have my floor plan already drawn, and then I would turn off all my layers and just leave the walls and make a copy, put the walls over here, and then I would offset. These walls are 150 millimeters, 6-inch blocks, but for the foundation walls it would be 200 millimeters, which means I need 50 more millimeters of wall thickness. So if I distribute 50 evenly, it will be 25 on each side. So I would usually offset 25 on that side, and then 25 on this side, and then I would select the ones in the middle and then delete them, and then I would have a thicker wall. So that is how I would go about doing a foundation, by getting, so start by copying the walls and getting my foundation walls, and then offsetting the foundation wall lines to get my footing lines. But for CSEC, you're not going to have to draw. I don't want you to have to draw a floor plan first, just so you could offset lines to get um, your foundation walls to do your foundation. So this is the way you could do it for your exams. What I would advise you to do is just draw the sketch, draw the lines for the sketch. You have all dimensions for the walls, and then you would offset, treat these as the center lines and offset evenly on both sides. So let's go ahead and do that. We have 3000, 3000, 1200, 2400. So this is 36, 36. So let's go ahead and do that. So 3000, come across 3000 again, and come down 3600. This one would be 6000, and then close that off in there. I believe somewhere in between here, I come down 1200 and then come across 3000. Yeah, and then I believe that this is 2100, right? So let me just come down. Actually, this one is 1200. So if I add 900 more to it, so I click on it, click on lengthen, I pull it down and I type 900, it should add 900 more to it. Let me just double click on the line. Good, 2100. So the thing is, for a foundation plan, this is a arch. So that means this is a space, an archway that you walk under, but above that there is also a wall. All right. So technically this line should run all the way across. Let me just use some tools. All right. So this should run all the way across, like so. So it's 1200, right? 24. Good. This should run all the way across. So basically underneath all of our walls, our load bearing walls, you're going to have a foundation wall and then a footing underneath that. Okay, so we have these lines, treat them as middle center lines, and then we're going to now offset so that we could get our foundation wall. Now, usually CSEC will give you the specifications. I have some here. The foundation wall is 200 millimeters, right? And then the continuous strip footing is going to be 600 millimeters wide by 200 millimeters thick. The thickness doesn't matter because that's we are looking from above. All right, the width is what matters. So if the walls are 200 millimeters wide, then that means if this is our middle of the wall, we can offset equally on both sides so that we could get 200. So I'm going to offset 100 on each side, that side, this side. And then I like to tell people, do one wall, one room at a time so that you don't get confused. So I'm doing one room at a time and I'm offsetting on each side, like so, like so. And then finally, like so, and like so. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is delete these lines in the middle. I delete these lines in the middle. We don't need these anymore. All right. And then we're going to clean this up. So my fillet tool, multiple, radius is already set to 0. So we're going to clean up this. Oh no. This one, this one, this one, this one. Again, do one room at a time. This one. If I do this, it's going to erase this line. So be it. Now let's do the storage room. It's going to erase that line, of course, right? We could just we know if this line is correct, then the other line is supposed to be 200 millimeters away from it. So I could extend this back down, or I could just offset 200 millimeters here, like so, and like so. So let me just fill it again, multiple. Now you could choose to do this however you want to do this. All right, and this one across like that, this one across like that. All right, let me see. Okay, we're just checking that there's not two lines on top of each other, and if there were two lines, it doesn't really matter. So these are my foundation walls. These are underneath my walls of the house. And then we need footing lines, the lines for the footing, for the continuous strip footing. So underneath each of these walls, there's a footing. So the footing is going to be shown as hidden lines. So let's first offset these. Now the footing is supposed to be 3 times the width of the foundation wall. So if the foundation wall is 200, then the footing is 3 times 200, which is 600. But sometimes I've seen CXC give different numbers, like the width is 900 by 300 or something like that. That's fine, but just know the wider dimension is the width of the footing. All right, so let me offset 200 on that side and on that side, on that side, because remember, this is my foundation wall and the footing is 3 times the width, so 200, 200, 200, that's 600. All right, so let's continue with the offsetting. I'm doing this room first, that side, that side. Let me do this one down here as I'm here. Please take your time, try your best not to get confused. What you could also do is offset one side, one room, and clean it up immediately. So fillet, multiple, clean this up. You could do clean it up as you go along so that you don't get confused. All right, so there we have that. That's that room. This is the storage, the foundation under the storage, like so. And let me clean up here, connect these. All right, so don't get confused. These are my foundation walls, and outside here I'm just gonna join these lines, all these lines together. I'm gonna join them up, and these ones inside I'm going to join them also, so that when I select one, I select all of them. All right, you don't have to do this. This is just me giving myself more work to do. All right, so we need these lines. It's easier to select all of them. So we have the footing lines. So now I'm going to, I think I have a line for my footing. Let me just check my layers. Footing is hidden, right? So let me just switch to my footing layer. If you don't have one, you'll create one. It is a hidden layer, hidden line, but again, I'll have to change my line type scale. I think I put it to 20. Okay, that seems fine. So there we have that. So the next thing we need to do is just put hatch inside of the walls, like so. Boom. And then inside of these spaces, we're going to put um, compact fill. This is compacted earth, compact fill. All right. Now, sometimes the space that you need to put compact fill is not big enough. So sometimes you could put C fill. All right. Good. Or maybe it's shaped that way and it's very narrow. If that's the case, you could turn it this way. All right. If that's the case, remember text and dimensions must be read either upright, or if you're looking at the drawings from the right side. That's the only two ways. All right. All right. So we have that. All we need to do now is put in the dimensions. So what we're going to dimension here is our only thing we're going to dimension here is our footing lines. So I'm going to say, let me see if I just put this here. No, I'm not putting any specific measurements, but you could put a measurement. If I were to put a measurement, if I'm using here, I would say 600, but because I'm clicking deeper and from here to here is 600, that means I need to put 1200 for it to come out here. All right. So immediately, let me just wonder if I could just do this one time and then continue. So we're showing the width of the footing and then the space between the footings. The width of the footing and then the space between the footings and then the width of the footing again. All right, so let's clean this up. And then we'll do overall measurement. This maybe, I don't know, I can just eyeball it, but you could choose a measurement to be consistent. All right, so this side, we're going to do the same thing, the width of the footing, and then continue space between the footings, and then the width of the footing. All right, and then overall measurement, like so. Let me eyeball it somewhere around there, and then I'll select these and bring these out. All right. Do this all the way around, all four sides. All right. Now sometimes your exams might say, might limit how much dimensioning you do. It might say, oh, just put in, 5 important dimensions. You can stick to those limits, but if you know how to dimension it already, just do it. Especially with a foundation plan, it's not going to take that much time. Even for a big drawing, foundation plan is pretty simple. So around here is fine. And finally, but this side, right? So that's the width of the footing, and the space in between it, and the width of the footing. Again, overall measurement. So you could imagine now somebody coming in with a excavator ready to remove the dirt. They're looking at this drawing. Well, it's already marked out already. They would know exactly how to mark out where these trenches are going to be dug to put in your foundation, your footing, and your foundation walls. All right, so that's the dimensions. Now we need to label a couple of things. So I'm going to use a leader. I'm going to point to um, the foundation wall, and I'm going to say I'm going to use the specs. So its spec says 200 millimeter foundation wall, concrete block filled with concrete. All right, so I'm just going to say 200 millimeter foundation wall. And usually you would put in all the information, um, concrete block filled with concrete, etc., etc. But we're not going to do all that. All right, and then I'm going to label the footing. So let me do it on the other side of here. So let's see, this is going to be 600 millimeter by 200 millimeter continuous strip. Food footing. Good. Something I like to do, because I don't like my lines crossing each other, I like to go to the annotate brick and select this and select that, so it's broken. I don't like my lines to be crossing like so. I should have done all of them at the same time. So that's broken. I could even break it here, but I won't. All right, so all we need to do now, same thing. Let me just save some time, but actually let me do it, because some people might not be watching all of these videos. So this is going to be foundation plan, and then I'm going to draw a line underneath it, and then copy this and place it underneath. Double click to edit. Scale is 1 to 50, just like the floor plan. Yes. And then let me just rename this first one. So I'll call this first one floor plan, and then I'm going to make a copy. Move it to the end, create a copy. Okay, so now we have the copy. Let's call this one foundation. Ooh, what am I typing? Foundation plan, and I'll remove that too. So let's double click in here and we'll find this drawing like so. Alrighty, alright. So the scale is already set to 1 to 50. The everything is there, dimensions, labels, the drawing, etc. Alright, so let me just export this one immediatamente. Looks good, looks good. I don't think I've forgotten anything. So let's leave it like that. Save it right here. We'll call this one foundation plan, and then the candidate number with it. Boom. Alright guys, so that is it for this video. We'll leave this one right here. We just did a foundation plan. Again, it doesn't matter if it's 50 rooms or 5 rooms or 3 rooms. The principles are the exact same thing, and this is how you would do it. Alright, for your exams, of course, I would make a better series about how to actually do these things professionally. Until next time, peace.